the grapes are in the stainless steel tanks. So all of our fermentations are done in stainless steel tanks. And they're both heated and cooled, so it's a kind of a perfect environment for fermentation.
That's really when the magic of fermentation and extracting tannin and color starts to come into play.
They are coming in cold, but if they need any chilling, we'll chill them down a little bit more and let them soak for about 2 days. There's no alcohol in that stage of the fermentation, but we're still getting color and some tannin and some flavor out during that time. So we do what's called a pump over, where we almost like making like a pot of coffee, like a percolator, where we take the juice from the bottom of the tank and we pump it up over the top over an irrigation device or a sprinkler. Once we're sure everything's perfect, we add yeast and get the fermentation started. It takes about maybe 24 hours for the fermentation to start. Once that CO2 is given off by the yeast as they convert sugar to alcohol, it lifts all those skins up to the top. And so we have a cap that's maybe the top 25% of the tank is just all the skins, the seeds, and then the juice is down below. We want a warm fermentation because without the heat, we can't get the extraction that we want. So there's about a 10-day window where we have to make all these decisions. And we have all the tools, but we just have to do it, assess each vintage and decide what is the best way to conduct that fermentation.
We track the conversion of sugar to alcohol with hydrometers, and we drop it into a vertical container where the hydrometer finds its buoyancy depending on the level of sugar. And then that tells us how much sugar is still left in the fermentation.
The fun part for us is, and really the most interesting and kind of the artistic part of it is, we'll pull a sample from the tank. And so what we do is we bring them in the lab and we'll have maybe 30 of them at a time. We'll centrifuge them and we go through and we taste each tank by just tasting this little tube. And then Rye and Ben and Daniel and I taste those each day. It's almost 2 hours every day, and at all the various stages of the fermentation. So hopefully when we get down to the end of the fermentation, we just want to land that tank in the right place. We want that every single lot. We don't want it to be like some are too tannic and some are too soft. We want every tank to be perfect.
And as we near the point where we feel like there's enough tannin in the mouthfeel, that's when we decide that it's time to drain the wine off of the skins. And that's called free run.
It's the wine that just comes out of the tank through gravity. And so what we'll do is we'll drain that. It takes maybe an hour, 2 hours to get all of that out. And then what you're left with is a cap. And in the cap is still a lot of wine and some actually very good wine. So somebody gets to dig it out.
Once the grapes are dug out of the tank, the grapes then go into our bladder presses, where we have a long cylinder bladder that inflates and squeezes the grapes against the interior wall of the press.
The majority of the wine that comes out of the tank is the free run. That's about 80%, but there's another 15 to 20% that is the press wine.
And sometimes that can make really great wine. Press wine can either be overly tannic or it's just the right amount. When it's just the right amount, we'll take that and put it back in with the freer one.
Right now, we have many wines that, they're not grape juice anymore, they're wine. They're in this young, primordial state of being wine. The first lots that came in maybe 3 weeks ago are now going to barrels. We've converted the sugar to alcohol, but what really softens these wines will be a second fermentation, malolactic fermentation, which hasn't even started.